Thank you, Madam Clerk, and good evening. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council for August 12th, 2021 to order. And with that, would you please all rise and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bruins.
Present.
Councilmember Daniels.
Here.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Present.
And Mayor Miller.
Here.
This meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at citrusheights.net. Today's meeting replays on Monday, August 16th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed on the city's YouTube channel.
Thank you. And if there's no changes to the agenda, I'd take a motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, I made the motion.
Oh,
Please call the roll.
aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
And Mayor Miller.
Aye. Okay, next item, please.
Next, we have comments by council members and regional board updates.
Okay. Councilmember Daniels, you want to go first?
Sure. Not too much. Just want to take the opportunity to publicly thank Chief Lawrence and the Citrus Heights Police Department for their efforts in cleaning things up, is how I'll put it, in the area of Sunrise, Old Auburn, Sunrise, Old Auburn, and Antelope. There's been some real challenges over in that area. That community over there has really stepped up their effort in trying to do what they can. Property owners are signing trespass orders to help, and really the chief and the PD has helped tremendously over there. And we all know it's a cycle. It's cat and mouse, basically, but you know, we get what we tolerate. So be the squeaky wheel and let us know when we need to get back into an area and get it cleaned up. And then the only other thing is, got to join the mayor this morning in the soft opening of our newest coffee shop in Citrus Heights, Beanheads Coffee. It's over at Sperry and San Juan, across from Green Acres. So if you get a chance, get over there and help a new business in Citrus Heights be successful. That's it.
It was good coffee.
It was really good coffee.
Councilmember Bruins?
Thank you. I have a few notes here. First of all, I wanted to mention that City Manager Chris Boyd joined me last week at the meeting for the regional SAN out at the treatment plant. As I've been reporting over the last many years, we've been in a $1 billion upgrade to the wastewater treatment plant that will be finished next year in response to our permit from the wastewater, from the wastewater commission that requires that. Anyway, it was a great tour. He went out with me a couple of years ago and toured it at that point, and the progress that they've made is phenomenal. We have implemented tertiary treatment, which means that less than 0.1% of the ammonia that formerly was being discharged into the Sacramento River no longer is. It's a very pure water, not potable, but very pure. And so that makes the fish happy, it makes our environment happy, and it was an awesome, if you're at all into engineering, you would appreciate the magnitude of this buildup. In fact, that brings to my mind the fact that the wastewater treatment plant staff has reopened tours. So if you're interested in looking at it, let me know. I can get it arranged for you. And a few days ago, I met with the mayor and some staff members and some park people with Congressman Ami Bera, and we celebrated the funding that is coming through for our Arcade Creek Trail, and did a little ceremony about that. Very exciting. That looks like it's fully funded and is going to take off with construction to be completed next year. I think that'll be a real, well, actually, I have to state, we haven't actually voted. There are things to vote on, but I'm reporting out, I have been deemed conflict of interest, so I can't vote on this, but I can speak about it. So as you may know, our school board has split into 7 districts. So future voting for school board members will be by district. Citrus Heights, most of Citrus Heights is found in 2 districts, but there is 2 corners of Citrus Heights that are found in 2 other districts, and it's all centers around San Juan, despite testimony, both written and public, to look at, to number one, delay the final maps until after the census is out later this month, I believe, because it'll have to be redrawn again. And based on this census, they went ahead and voted on it and basically split Citrus Heights up into 4 districts. The good news is that we could potentially have 4 members of our community on this school board after 20 years of having nobody. But the difficult part for the voters and supporters of San Juan High School is it really cuts up their neighborhood into 4 slices of communities with 4 districts that feed into the high school. And I had conversations with the Alumni Association President Dick Cowan. He actually gave testimony as well. And that's troublesome for them, but that's the way the lines have been drawn. Attended the Sunrise Tomorrow Zoom Community Workshop, which was fascinating to see how well that's coming along and to get the community reaction to that. PAL board met this week, and the PAL is going to be once again offering the Trunk or Treat program, which was so successful last year, and we are going to be broadening it, inviting the business community to come in, working hopefully with Dignity Health to use their parking lot as part of it, not the PD parking lot, so that it will flow better and be more expansive and open up to businesses, nonprofits who would like to have their own booth and give out candy to the kids. So more coming on that. Also talking about doing the Miracle on Fountain Square again, which would be, I believe, the week following our Christmas tree lighting. Also reporting from PAL, we are partnering with the Chamber of Commerce to do a cornhole tournament next February right at our community center. Our cornhole tournament in 2020 was the last, I believe, official event before COVID shut down our community center. It was the first year that we did it, and it was highly successful and tons of fun. So I'm looking forward to that, and by partnering with the Chamber, it kicks it up another notch, and it'll be a good fundraiser for PAL. Want to just thank the neighborhoods for coming out for National Night Out last Tuesday. I got to say that I think my very own neighborhood association took it over the top. So thank you to everybody there. There's some great meetings together. Attended the Chamber's Candidates Night, which was always fun to have the candidates come out. It was in Sunrise Mall, and have people just mix and mingle with us and chat. Today, I attended the Sunrise Point Appreciation Luncheon, which is the development on Sunrise Boulevard on the old Abel's Christmas tree lot. It was hot, it was smoky, but it was still fun to go out there and celebrate the progress they're making on that particular project. And then finally, earlier this week, attended the Chamber Lunch where our Chief of Police spoke and really gave a good presentation on what policing looks like today versus what it looked like in the past. It was very informative and very poignant. And that is all I have.
Is that all?
That is it.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Well, thank you, Mayor. So today I had the Sacramento Library Board meeting. We had there's 15 board members there. We had barely had a quorum at 9 people. We did have a few issues going through labor negotiations, And one of the issues that came to fore was the fact that the managers, they're not unionized, but the managers at the library board had not had a raise since 2013. So they did get a substantial raise this time. And that is, certainly they work very hard, and as well as our city employees work very hard here too as well. But that is, that's really all I have to report from unfortunately, I haven't been able to get out very much. We've had, in my household, my family's had COVID scares. I'm fully vaccinated, my wife's fully vaccinated, but we did have that issue. We're in the clear at this point, so that's really why you haven't seen me out and about too much. So anyhow, that's really all I had. I certainly have last weekend went out to breakfast, and I was delighted to see over at Crepes and Burgers that they were full. There were a lot of people in there, so it's really good to see people out and enjoying our restaurants. So that's all I had.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Middleton, what have you been up to?
So on Monday, SACOG had their Policy and Innovation Committee meeting, and a couple of things to report from that. Green Means Go funding, I believe the Sacramento region will be receiving about $35 million in state funds to put towards local projects that are green initiatives. And the federal transportation bill was discussed heavily about what that means for our community. We know for sure that it's a huge bill from the federal government, and it's going to bring in a ton of funding for local projects. So we'll be getting more in depth with that later on down the road. And we also voted to support AB 1401. And AB 1401 would eliminate the minimum parking requirement for residential and commercial development. And this is key for Citrus Heights because we are strictly an infill city, and taking away those restrictions will help us to get more development that's pertinent to helping us increase our housing, reducing our footprint. And we have to have the ability to tell folks that parking needs vary, and we can let the market decide about what those parking needs look like. So I was really happy to support that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Well, I'll go back to Monday, July 26th at the Regional Transit meeting. We had a request from the city of Sacramento to use 3 of the light rail station parking lots in the city of Sacramento for safe parking homeless sites. It was Roseville Road, Florin Road, and Franklin Boulevard RT stations. No action was taken by the RT board on this item. There was a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. My biggest concern was indemnifying the regional transit district. That for me would go a long way because it sounds, you know, it's workable in the parking lots. There's room at these 3 stations, and I wish them luck, but there's a few hurdles we have to get over before I think that's approved. Also, on a real good news side, TK through 12th grade students ride the entire SAC RT net, can ride the entire RT network, including buses, light rail, and the Smart Ride for free. All school districts will be provided with a ride-free RT card, and through September 30th, you can still use your student ID or previous ride for free card. And if you need more information on this, please go to the SAC RT website for more information. But I think the whole intent here is if we can expose young folks to transit, they're more likely to use it as adults. So, and it's a great way to get around when you're a kid and you don't have a car. Jeannie already mentioned August 2nd, meeting with the Ami Bear out at CBRC Park and the elected officials reception. I did also attend the Sunrise Tomorrow Community Workshop, and what a thorough presentation. I can't wait for this thing to get off the ground. Yesterday, I met with Greg Nelson and Brian Noblet from Ralph Anderson Associates to discuss the process of hiring, advertising, hiring, and attracting and hiring a new city manager, and what our desirable attributes would be in a city manager. And I take it all the council members have had an opportunity to talk to them as well. And yeah, today we had the Sunrise Point lunch, and at STA this afternoon, there was, I don't think there was any action worth noting, but there was an update on the SAFSA renewal. the cost for putting that on the ballot. And the SAFSA is the Sacramento Abandoned Vehicle something something. It's, what is it, $1 on vehicle registration and it funds getting rid of abandoned vehicles in all the cities. And we use it a lot, and it's due to expire this year. And so we're talking about putting it on the ballot to keep charging this fee from the DMV. It's very helpful to our city and our police department. There was also talk of a new Measure A, and this would not be coming from the government. It's, I guess, some private citizens are getting together, and the interesting thing about that, and I think I know why they're doing it this way, is it doesn't require 2/3. It's 50 plus 1. So there's talk, and probably, I don't know how it's going to come out. You know, we had a spending plan for the last Try It Measure A, and I think that's what's going to be used this time around, but I just want to let you know that's on the horizon. I also wanted to let everybody know that our next meeting, our last meeting in August, on August 26th, I think, has been canceled for lack of business. And our next meeting will be, I believe, September 9th. So for any of you at home keeping score. And with that, I think that concludes my report, and we're ready for the next item. Haley.
Next item, we have public comment.
Okay, and I'm going to take the speaker card here first in chambers, and then we'll look for anyone. Do you have any to read tonight?
We have not received any via email, but we did receive an email from Robert Wicker, who would wish to speak
Okay.
via Zoom.
Okay, so we'll take him after Kathy Morris. You wanted to speak on item 9?
I have to take this off or you won't hear me. Mr. Mayor, council members, I think that I'm actually speaking with a question on item 9. I've gotten myself confused, and I recognize clearly that compensation and salaries are very confusing and very hard work. But I got confused over step increases and scheduled merit increases and the normal kinds of quality of life increases. And I couldn't figure out if one of them outweighs the other. Does a step increase take precedent over any other kind of increase? And are there matrices that people are going to do that? As I say, I understand that salary negotiations and compensation and raises is very complicated, but I couldn't understand what comes first and when and what the priorities are. And I'm not sure you can answer that, but it is a concern about how increases and merit raises versus step increases. Did I make any sense at all?
Yeah, you did, and it's been interesting, and since it's on the agenda, I can try, and if anybody else wants to jump in and help me, that's great. But we're one of the only cities in the state of California without a step system, and we did that from the beginning because we could offer incentive pay. We could look at our budget from the previous year and gauge how much. We didn't give raises. We gave, for lack of a better word, bonuses. And that worked for us until the legislature said we couldn't do that anymore. Yeah. And so it's more of a traditional style. I experienced it when I worked for Sacramento County. You get hired as an inspector, and you're in step 1. And then...
Have anything to do with cost of living increases?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it does help keep up with the cost of living, but it gives you a career, a path to work through. And those aren't automatic, you know, when you go to step 2, I think it's every year. It depends on how it's set up. Ours would be every year. It's not automatic. If you're not performing, that's where the review comes in. And so, again, it's something that we kind of fought from doing, but the reality is our employees are looking at other places, you know, and everybody has the same system, and it's a concern of ours. So we are instituting, instead of broad range, which Rhonda Rivera could explain that, I can't, we're going to a step system. Does that make sense?
Helps, thank you.
Okay. Okay, and you have a Zoom comment?
Yes. And Mr. Wicker, if you would like to speak, you can do so.
Yes, I think I made it. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. I really appreciate it. I am talking tonight about the salary increases, and I reminded that a couple months ago, we had a budget crisis, and we were talking about cutting police, and I made the comment that I really don't think public safety is the first place to cut. And now, a couple months later, we've got some money coming in, and the first thing we do is give staff raises. And I realize that part of this is for police, but raises across the board, it just doesn't look good. I would advise the city council to pull that item 9 and look at a consolidated, comprehensive budget that would have any increases along with anything else that you decided to prioritize. There's a lot of small businesses in Citrus Heights that are hurting. There's a lot of people that could use some help. And I think focusing on staff raises as the first thing, it just looks selfish. That's my short speech tonight. But while I still have 1 minute and 52 seconds, I want to point out that when y'all go for a city manager, I highly recommend that you get someone who lives in the city. I hope you do that. I hope you think about it, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Any other hands raised?
None at this time.
Okay, then we can move on to the next item, please.
Next item, we have consent calendar, items 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Okay, do any council members wish to pull any items? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to pull item 9, please, Mayor.
Okay. So a motion for 4 through 8.
I move approval of items 4 through 8.
I second.
Motion by Bruin, seconded by Daniels. Please call the roll.
Schaefer.
Well, he came in a little ahead of you, Tim.
Okay.
I'll give you the next one.
Couldn't hear him.
Councilmember Bruins.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
And Mayor Miller.
Aye.
Next item, we have item number 9, a resolution approving 10-step compensation plan for full-time unrepresented employees and adopting an amended salary table. Staff recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving a 10-step compensation plan for full-time unrepresented employees and adopting an amended salary table.
Okay, do you have a question, or?
Well, I just have a statement that I'd like to make about it. And first of all, I want to recognize the very hardworking people that we have working at the city. I very much appreciate the hard work that they do. And I think that this STEP program has merit. It definitely, I've worked in manufacturing my entire life, and in manufacturing, you have similar programs in a union environment. But one of the things that I have, the other piece that it does, it provides an incentive for people to stay working for the city, which I recognize that, and I recognize that turnover is very, very costly. But I have some serious concerns about the long-term sustainability of the STEP system. It really, at a time where we are vulnerable from a financial standpoint, we're now implementing something that's going to go on for the next 10 years. And what I'd like to see this feels very rushed, similar to what happened with the budget. We passed the budget in April when it really wasn't due until June. And I think we pushed this forward. I feel like this is the same scenario where we are suddenly we're putting this forward. I think we're going to hear tonight what the plan is for the ARPA money, but I do think that we need to sort of slow down and look at these financial situations that we get into happen in very small steps. What seems to be insignificant at the time, over time becomes really a serious concern. So what I would ask my colleagues here is to, let's push this out for 6 months. Let's look and see how we sit in 6 months, and make sure that we are making the correct decision. I think the STEP system is an important piece, but the money that has to get allocated for this has the potential for having a greater impact in the long run. So that's what I would just ask is, let's push this back 6 months. Let's take a very measured approach to this, and let's let cooler heads prevail here.
Mr. Daniels?
Mayor, I have a couple of comments.
Go ahead.
So we had a very intense, deep review of this. And I think it may be beneficial for our residents to understand why the STEP system is important and what it means. We can't sit here and say that we know that the police department makes up this huge portion of our budget and we want to keep our police officers and that we want to support them and know that we appreciate them. And then on the other hand, say, but, we don't want to pay them, to stay here. We don't want to pay them in line with what is being paid around the region. So maybe it would be beneficial if we were to have that same kind of presentation done during a study session of some sort to really kind of put a squash to this, because the rhetoric here is unnerving. If we support our police, then we support our police, and that means that we have to pay them what the market prevails to do, to pay them. It doesn't make sense to say, well, we support you, but we don't want to pay you. It just sounds like a backhanded compliment.
Mr. Daniels?
Thank you. I think Mr. Schaefer's concerns are valid. I'm a little confused. So when I read this, it says that this is a 10-step compensation plan for full-time unrepresented employees.
Right.
So who does this apply to and who does it not apply to?
If you go to the end of the report, we're also negotiating with two labor associations, the Police Officers Association and the Police Employees Association. It does not include them in this.
So when I ask who does it apply to?
Everybody else that works for the city, except,
doesn't
and
apply to-
I got to be clear, it's not
Yeah.
managers or.
So this doesn't apply to police officers.
This item here, no.
So that's what I wanted to be clear on too, is that.
I think there's a nexus, but it.
Yeah, and we may see that, I guess is the point too.
Well, we'll
And-
see it in contract negotiations.
Exactly, and that's the point I wanted to bring up too, that this is something you would typically see in some sort of labor negotiations, a give and take of, something. And I also wanted to make a comment regarding the public speaker, Mr. I believe Victor, made a very good point, last year, 2020, it was all about, we need to raise our taxes because we don't have enough money, and that didn't happen. And this year, if I'm remembering right, was this going to amount to a $250,000 increase over the next 2 years? Was that in this, I believe?
Yeah, 165,000 this fiscal
Yeah.
year and 91,000.
Yeah, so about $250,000 that we're going to take on now. And so those two things kind of, are kind of conflicting. And so I can understand how the public definitely would see that as kind of illogical. But I'm going to put it this way. I think that the money to do this was there, and it's just a matter of how we decide to spend the money. So I think I'm okay with this tonight. I think I'm okay with moving forward with it tonight. But it does have a bit of a conflict in my mind when I think about last year's effort to raise taxes, which didn't happen, and this year's now effort to incur greater costs to us as a city and whatnot. And so I'll probably support that if that's what the rest of the council wants to do moving forward. But I also want to say we've got to be careful. we've just got to keep I think this goes back to Mr. Schaefer's comments, that we've got to be very careful about the future. And so I don't want to see us doing things automatically because we think we have to do something that other cities do, because we're not other cities. We're not. And we have to understand that and face that. We have a certain level of a budget that doesn't come near to what Roseville or Folsom and other places have. And it's not going to go up like that. We know who we are. We're 98% built out. And so we've got to, I think, be very careful with that. That's it.
One more comment,
Go ahead.
Mayor, I would. I also wanted to point out that I'm reading directly from our agenda packet. And in the staff's memorandum, it says the funding for this recommended program is included in the adopted budget for 21, 22, and 22, 23, and no budget adjustments are required. So I just want to make sure that I'm being very clear about what I'm saying here, and that there is no impact to the budget because it's already been accounted for.
Thank you. Just a couple comments. First of all, I want to state that I appreciate the comments of Councilmember Schaefer and Councilmember Daniels. We do have to be careful, but we are being careful. And as Vice Mayor Middleton stated, this has been already calculated within the budget that we've already approved. And the cost, I don't think we fully understand the cost to the city. I mean, I don't until I'm made aware of it, of employee turnover. And yes, this is unrepresented employees. We can't just do this for represented employees. We have to go through the proper steps of contract negotiation. But we've always followed the same model for all of our employees. That's historically what we've done. And the merit, as the mayor mentioned, worked for a number of years, but we've had a lot of turnover because we haven't been competitive with other areas. And this is a step in that direction where if an employee has met the top of their pay and they have, or their top of what they can earn, and they have no opportunity for pay increases, they're going to look elsewhere. And so I think this is necessary to maintain the staff we have. It's still a very moderate pay scale that our employees have. We're speaking of the non-executive employees here, the line, if you will. And so with careful budgeting, we were able to include this in the the current 2-year budget. And so I agree that as we go forward with new budgets every 2 years, that we need to be very careful in how we spend our money and how we compensate our staff. Having said that, I think it's time to step into this type of compensation plan so that we can offer the ability for our staff to continue to get raises for the hard work they do, and it's moderate, it's a very small amount, I think it's, 2.5%? So those are my comments on this, and I want to thank you.
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So one of the things that I've heard multiple times now is that this is already calculated into the budget. That's a little bit offensive to me because I didn't vote for that.
But
I did not
But we
vote.
talked step increases in the budget presentation. That was there. They were recommending step increases. That was 4 months ago.
Well, why are we listening to it now then? If it was already in there, what's the point of us, if it's already there, you're trying to tell me that, hey, it was already in the budget, vote for that budget for this to be, for these raises to happen. And I'm not saying that that's the other piece of this. All I'm saying is slow down. I'm not saying that this isn't going to happen. All I'm saying is, let's see where we are. I think we've been moving so fast that we lose track of where we are and our comfort level, my comfort level on where we are, because we're moving too quickly through this process.
Well, I don't know, 4 months, 6 months, Mr. Daniels.
Yeah, just one final thing. Something that's been mentioned, again, during this process is that apparently the perception is that we have a revolving door, that people are leaving us and leaving us and leaving us. And I'm not aware of that. And I find that quite surprising. And so I would like to get back some sort of documentation on personnel orders and who's come and gone in the last, let's say, 2 years. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see those numbers, see how many people we're losing, because it is a concern. Certainly, when you bring in new people and you have to pay them and go through training and stuff like that, that's very costly. I'm just not aware of that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, and it'd be very unfortunate if it is happening, but I'd just like to see some documentation on what kind of movement we've had over the last 2 years.
Well, you know, I'm hearing a lot of questions. The agenda was published on Friday, and none of these questions were asked of staff, because this is what makes it feel like last minute when you haven't done your homework.
Do you mean our questions tonight?
Yeah,
Okay, hold on. You know, our business is public business, though, too, and our public has a right to know these things. Just because we might get some more information or questions answered between Friday, when this stuff comes out, and today, I mean, I feel like you're trying to stifle any kind of conversation with that remark on our council evenings, you know, and, you know, our agenda is probably going to keep us here till maybe 8:15 tonight, and so things can come up, questions can come up.
oh, yeah,
And I
no,
didn't
I'm not
plan on
saying
pulling
questions
this,
don't
so,
come up,
yeah.
I'm just wondering aloud.
I didn't plan on pulling this item tonight and having any kind of discussion, really, but some points came up that I think are important to get clarification sometimes, and so, that's my comment.
And Mayor, I'd be happy to show you my email on the questions I asked over.
Oh, perfect, that's what I was recommending, okay. Well, what's the pleasure of the council?
I move approval of this item.
Motion by Bruins. I'll second the item.
Second by Middleton.
You're too late, I already did.
Oh, sorry.
Next time. Would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bruins?
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels?
Aye.
Councilmember Schaefer?
No.
Vice Mayor Middleton?
Aye.
And Mayor Miller.
Aye. Motion carries 4-1. Next item, please.
Next item, we have public hearing, item number 10. The subject is renewing the Sunrise Marketplace Property and Business Improvement District, approving the assessment formula and levying the assessments. Staff recommendation is to conduct a public hearing for the Sunrise Marketplace Business Improvement District renewal and to adopt a resolution renewing the Sunrise Marketplace Property and Business Improvement District, approving the assessment formula and levying the assessments.
Good evening, City Council. Megan Huber, Economic Development and Communications Manager. I am going to take a quick minute to pull up some slides. Okay, is that full screen for you? Negative.
Close enough.
It's enough. So this item, public hearing before you this evening, is a final step in the renewal of Sunrise Marketplace PBID. As a reminder, their current term expires December 31st of this year. If renewed, the term will be 2022 for 3 years until December 31st, 2025. So far in this process, in June, there was a resolution of intention hearing. Once resolution was approved, there was a notice and Proposition 218 ballot issued to all property owners. And now this evening is a final public hearing and tabulation of ballots. So staff recommends that City Council hold a final hearing, and upon a weighted majority vote of the property owners, which will happen this evening, adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights renewing the Sunrise Marketplace Property District, approving the assessment formula and levying.
All righty, thank you. And this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? I don't see anybody rushing up. Are there any raised hands?
I have no raised hands.
Then I'm going to close the public hearing and ask, I guess the next step is we count the ballots. Oh,
Yes, so we'll go back and count the ballots, and then council can move on with the rest of the council meeting. And then once we're done, we'll come back and report the results, and then council can consider action.
okay, and you're counting the ballots in the,
We'll be in the large conference room, which is just across the hallway from the council chambers.
can anybody from the public observe this?
They can, yes.
Okay. If anybody's interested. So with that, Madam Clerk, we'll move on to the next item and come back to this one.
Next item, we have regular calendar. Item number 11, the subject is designation of voting delegate and alternate for the League of California Cities Annual Conference. Staff recommendation is for council to make a motion to designate a voting delegate and alternate to participate at the annual business meeting on September 24th, 2021, during the League of California Cities Annual Conference. And I am covering the item this evening. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Haley Reed in the City Clerk's office. The League of California Cities Annual Conference is scheduled for September 22nd through 24th. The annual business meeting will be held during the General Assembly on Friday, September 24th at 12:30. At this meeting, the League membership considers and takes action on resolutions that establish League policy. In order to vote at the annual business meeting, the City Council must designate a voting delegate and may appoint up to 2 alternate voting delegates. Consistent with League bylaws, the city's voting delegate and alternate must be designated by action of the City Council. The voting delegate and alternate must be registered to attend the conference. We have recently received the resolutions packet from the League of California Cities and will bring the items to our next City Council meeting for your discussion. At this time, Vice Mayor Middleton is the only council member we have registered for the conference. And with that, that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Anyone else going? Thank you, Haley. Anybody else going? You're not going? Tim, are you going?
Yes, I'll go.
I think they have a great new council member program, if you haven't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you need to. All right, I nominate Tim for the delegate.
Bam. I'll second that.
And the vice mayor is alternate.
Second that.
And there's, so I think combine them
I
in.
don't, I'll have to say, Mayor Miller, I'm actually a statewide delegate for the league. So I probably should be the primary.
Oh, for the city?
Yes, I just recently found out last week that I'm a statewide delegate.
Well, then don't you vote as a statewide delegate?
Yeah, can you,
Yeah, sure.
So,
I'll be
yeah.
there.
but can you be in both roles, Portia?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Well, that's a good question.
I don't think you can. I think you vote for the state. We should clarify that. Do you
We
know?
don't have time, well,
Pardon me?
do we have time to clarify it? I mean,
Do we have to vote on this tonight, Haley,
It would help.
from a timing standpoint?
Timing, yes, we do have to return the voting delegate and alternate to the league by the end of this, or I think by the 15th.
Oh, okay, that's just a few days.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think to be safe, we should definitely continue with the mayor's initial suggestion, but I probably shouldn't be the alternate, just in case.
Okay, so I'd withdraw that second part of my motion.
So where does the motion stand?
I nominated Mr. Schaefer.
Okay, and we're good with that? That's where it's
We've
at.
all had that experience. It's a good experience.
Okay, no, I don't mean it that way. I mean, is that a valid motion with Councilmember Schaefer as the primary and Vice Mayor Middleton as the secondary?
Well, I would withdrew that second part, Jeannie.
so we
Oh,
just
so
won't
just
have an
one?
alternate.
Yeah,
No alternate?
it all just hinges on Councilmember Schaefer
Oh,
now.
you really have to
The
show.
whole world.
Really got to show
All right,
take the day off.
okay. Then, so that was was that a
Yes.
motion?
It was.
I guess I'll second that.
Oh, Brett already did.
Oh, you
So
did,
we're good.
okay.
We're good.
Yay, okay.
Let's call the roll.
Councilmember Bruins,
I'm losing
Aye.
control.
Councilmember Daniels,
I think it's I, yeah. Yes. aye.
Councilmember Schaefer,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton,
Aye.
and Mayor Miller.
No way would I keep him from this experience. Yes.
Next item, we have department reports. Item number 12, the subject is Sunrise Tomorrow project update from our Community Development Department and Economic Development.
Good evening, Mayor Miller and members of City Council. Megan Huber, Economic Development and Communications Manager. My colleague, Planning Manager Casey Kempenaar, and I are here to give a department report and debrief of our third and final community workshop on the Sunrise Tomorrow, Sunrise Mall Draft Specific Plan. As Council knows, the purpose of the specific plan is to guide the development of the Sunrise Mall property and realize the city's general plan vision as a place to shop, live, work, and play, and a premier regional destination. This project has had a long history in and of itself, and of course, Sunrise Mall has a long history for our community as well. We're coming to the culmination of the specific plan process, which began really in July of 2019 when we adopted a general plan amendment requiring a comprehensive plan for Sunrise Mall. We hired a top team of consultants to help us through the process and engaged our community all along the way for feedback. On July 20th, we released the draft specific plan to our community. And all along the way have underscored that it truly is a community vision. So as I mentioned, we hosted our third and final community workshop to be able to roll the draft specific plan out to our community, to celebrate it, and to provide education on how it works as a tool and what it means for our Sunrise Mall. We made sure to promote the workshop in a robust way and garnered almost 100,000 impressions from that promotion series alone. And that resulted in 67 workshop attendees and almost 140 registered participants. We always like to share our tips with our community that even if you can't attend, be sure to register because you'll be sent the recording. 49 comments and questions were submitted live. I was a part of the answering process, and I have to say that it was so awesome to be able to engage directly with our community, educate them on the project, and answer questions and concerns. So as a reminder, top priorities for this plan are central public space, a mix of retail, dining, and entertainment, an employment hub, neighborhoods with a mix of housing, connectivity, and most importantly, pragmatism, that it's financially feasible, implementable, and adaptable. So what we heard from the community is that they really desire a new heart, and that's what we've worked to deliver. It was important to us during the community workshop to, frankly, recognize the elephant in the room. This project started pre-COVID, and the COVID-19 pandemic has had ripple effects on economies and markets and use types, and it really has changed how and where we shop, work, and live. So we wanted to arm our community with that information and either one, show how the plan meets that need, or two, educate on how the plan stays flexible to follow that need wherever it may go. So what we know is that retail has changed. COVID has accelerated what has been deemed the retail apocalypse, with stores and brands that have been hobbling along some of the first casualties of extended shutdown. Traditional shopping malls are also a large category of casualties, with many U.S. malls shuttering partly, if not in total, because of the COVID-19 pandemic and associated shutdown. So this data gives us an idea of the vacancy rate of Sunrise Mall pre-COVID. It was about 40% vacant. We looked at this graph a little bit in reverse. The red shows occupied and the gray shows vacant. The next page is post-COVID. And you can see here the red now represents vacancy with major corridors completely shut down and the entire south wing closed, essentially. So the strategy to be able to adjust to a post-COVID world is right-sizing retail, and the specific plan allows for the repurposing of the mall if and when it needs it. That was one of the most important aspects that we wanted to make sure to impart to our community. With the plan in place, that does not mean our stores are closing. Please still shop local and support your Citrus Heights businesses. If stores do close, if buildings need to be redeveloped, then the specific plan comes in to help right-size that retail. What we know too in a post-COVID world, that hybrid work is the new normal. It has certainly taught us all new skills, being on Zoom in my office here at City Hall. And it's created an expectation of flexibility. And really what that means to create a destination in a post-COVID market is that an environment needs to enhance employment opportunities. And the specific plan supports job growth in office environments that meet the demand for new flexible workspaces. One of the hot vernaculars that has emerged as folks are speculating on the office market is that, offices will never close entirely because folks still need places to connect, to ideate, to collaborate. And, they might not look the same in the future, but we still need space. So there's a lot of prospecting around what they call hub and spoke models now, where we're not going in large mega campus directions, and corporate offices are holding small office footprints in major urban locations and branching out, i.e. spokes, into suburban markets, which bodes very well for suburbs like Citrus Heights. And, that comes with that, small cities are also on the rise, so double positive for our Citrus Heights community. Hybrid and remote work are allowing people to relocate from those urban hubs into smaller cities and suburbs where they can, frankly, stretch out and enjoy a higher quality of life. This data was presented by Gensler. It's a survey that they completed earlier this year to take the pulse on a post-COVID environment, and found remote workers are relocating. Over 1 in 3 remote workers are now considering moving to a different city, and the millennial generation is leading the way. We're also seeking smaller cities. Smaller cities and suburbs are the most popular destination for those leading larger cities. And while this graph is great, the next slide, I believe, is, yes, one of my favorites. And this is key data that speaks to the strength of Sacramento region in terms of business and people attraction. Sacramento region grew by 26,000 people in 2020 alone, and the regional growth rate is 5 times the state average, which bodes well for Citrus Heights. So the strategy there is to create neighborhoods that attract those people. Neighborhoods with a mix of housing and open space. And the good news is this specific plan empowers our 100-acre Sunrise Mall site to hold many different housing typologies. So,
thanks, Megan.
Yes. Go for it.
Thank you. Planning Manager Casey Kempenart here tonight. So as you can see here, this is the existing site plan, and just a reminder, it's about 100 acres, 75 of which is vacant parking field that is just ripe for redevelopment. This is the illustrative plan that was developed as part of the specific plan. This is how we can see this site develop. And as you are aware, the middle of the plan is the main street, and this is bringing a main street to Citrus Heights. And that would be the type of main street that you can close down and have events, have ground floor retail with different uses up above. So you can really see the plan brings a whole mix of uses and a lot of intensity and density to the site, which is really what drives people to come here, shop and hang out, and spend money here in town. So you've seen some of these renderings before. You can really see it's different than anything here in the Sacramento region, especially in suburban market. This is the type of place that's going to draw crowds and people to shop, live, work, and play here in the city. And the specific plan is what empowers that. We really are at the point now where we have the specific plan on the street. It's been released, and we're looking for community feedback as we get ready to move forward towards a recommendation from the Planning Commission. I really wanted to make sure that council had a chance to dive into the plan and learn more about it. It's different, it's unique, it's different than anything we've ever done in the city. It will allow up to 2,200 housing units, almost 1 million square feet of office, 480 hotel rooms, 25 acres of open space and what's now parking, and 320,000 right-sized retail and restaurant space. So we know this is different, and we know it's more intense than anything that we've seen here, but we know it's the right fit for this spot. The plan will allow for 6 or even 8-story buildings, and even one building up to 12 stories tall. The plan will include parking garages, first for the city. A plan will have a bus rapid transit station on Sunrise Boulevard, relocating the Arcadia bus service transfer area over right on Sunrise Boulevard, right between Sunrise and Birdcage Marketplace, making it more accessible and closer to the people that will ride it. You'll see this plan is the most walkable development in the city, and they'll be at residential densities not seen yet here in the suburbs. It will really make Mall the cool place to be. And one other thing it'll do is add a 3rd left turn lane at Sunrise and Greenback, which is pretty cool. The plan also requires future developers to enter into a development agreement. So this is yet another opportunity for the city to work with the development community to refine timelines, deliverables, and phasing, and protect the city as we move forward. As you can see here, this are the build-out numbers we just went over. This is the table that is part of the specific plan that regulates the cap. This is the ceiling of development. It could be this high, it could be a little bit lower, but we tried to increase the ceiling to make it as flexible as we possibly can. The plan, you can see there's a variety of tables and charts and goals, policies, and objectives. So this is the document that will regulate development on the Sunrise Mall site. So as you dive in more into the plan, you'll see illustrative plans and details about really framing what the individual planning area should look like. The more you drill into it, the more detail there is. There's pictures that help it show the architectural intent as well as the massing of what is envisioned here. And then you get more into the nuts and bolts of it. You start talking setbacks and heights and open space requirements and things along those lines, just like a traditional zoning code. And last but not least, there's uses that are allowed and not allowed. So this really tries to kind of put it all in one place for folks to see. Lastly, we talk a lot about phasing in the plan, and Megan hit on it really good earlier that we know there's a right for development on the periphery of the site. The interior of the site may take a little bit longer, and we'll have to see where the market goes. But we built the plan in a way that's capable to be phased to follow the market. The environmental impact report is also out on the street. It's available on the website for those that are interested. We looked at all these environmental topic areas to look at potential impacts on the environment. So that is out for public review right now, and comments can be emailed to the Sunrise Mall Plan at citrusheights.net. We do have a planning on at 6 p.m. It's going to be a virtual meeting. It's really going to be a really deep dive into the specific plan. It will be recorded. It's going to kind of dive into the nuts and bolts of the plan. Also, we're interested members of the public to watch it on YouTube, and it will be recorded if you are unable to catch it live. Shortly thereafter, the plan and the environmental impact report for recommendation, and then finally that recommendation will be carried forward to the council So we envision this will be before the council by. And this just last slide is the website. So those watching online, if you go to sunrisetomorrow.net, all this information is there, including the recording from the workshop last week. Any questions? Megan and I are here to answer them.
Any questions from council?
I just have a quick comment. I'm just really impressed with the work you guys have done here. Megan and Casey, well done. Thank you.
Yeah, just some comments. This is kind of a bittersweet, emotional thing for me. My family moved here to Citrus Heights almost 50 years ago because of Sunrise Mall. My dad got a job there, and we moved out into Citrus Heights. And so it's taken 50 years to get to this point, and it's done a remarkable job along the way. It allowed us to become a city. It really did. And so bittersweet, but we have to accept, the changes that come in along the way with commercial stuff, and this is certainly one of them. This area, I think, could be just dynamic, just totally dynamic. There's hundreds of thousands of people that live within a very short distance of this area, and so if you build it, they will come, and I hope developers will hear that. I hope people understand the city does not own Sunrise Mall. There's not a thing we can do out there except hopefully help the planning process, encourage a certain path and whatnot. And this is certainly a wonderful path that has been put together. There's a housing element. There's a entertainment element, which is critical, I think, to it. And office and stuff like that. And one of the things I think we might have missed along the way was the aspect of how we're being told that people stay home and whatnot, and maybe office space is not as desirable. You can't manufacture something unless you go to work, though. And so there might be a need to think about that. Is there a way to bring some sort of manufacturing into this area that doesn't cause a environmental issue? It doesn't cause a greater burden on the area, but it definitely allows the area to be used and whatnot. And so that's my concern with, as we've gone through this process, the negative effects of COVID and how business is done and people staying home. And so maybe that's something we think about as we move along. Is there a way to bring that into the play? But the final thing I'll say is that every time you order something on Amazon, you hurt the ability for the city to do this kind of thing. And so just kind of think about that you can't have it both ways. A lot of people have really complained that we've seen, this degradation of the mall area and stuff like that, and all these vacancies, and that's stores closing. Those were retailers, but you can't have it both ways. You can't, go to your computer and constantly order things off Amazon and expect to have stores open in your city. So please keep that in mind when you come, when you're making your buying decisions and whatnot, and please find a way to spend your money local. That's it.
Just take this opportunity to echo the comments that were made. Casey and Megan and I know Nicole had a part in this as well, and your other staff members. Phenomenal effort. I wish I were 20 years old so I could live long enough to see this, build out to its completion, because it's going to take some time. But I think it's a great step into the future for Citrus Heights. Very smart plan. Just well done. Thank you. And just to speak to Brett's thought, it's an employment center. It doesn't say an office building. So we'll keep our options open on that. Okay. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, anything to add?
No, my colleagues have covered it all. Great job, guys.
I think, I just want to add, I was there last week for the elected officials Chamber of Commerce event, and the mall itself looks beautiful. It's in great shape, the interior, but there was no stores. And we were on that end where there's no stores, and it's kind of scary. And another thing I'll just share is I went down for a tour of Siemens, where they build the light rail trains down the south area, and I drove home past the Florin Mall, and this is what I was afraid would happen in Citrus Heights. They parceled out in front of it, and you got all these new stores, Target and all that stuff, and behind it is this mall just sitting there. I don't even, just decaying. So I think it's very important that, the plan addresses when and how the mall gets demoed, what phase and stuff, and I'm not looking for answers tonight. One answer I am looking for, and again, this goes to your comments, Brett, the changing landscape of retail and manufacturing, all this. Can this specific plan be modified as we find that maybe the industries are changing?
Absolutely. Once the specific plan's adopted, similar to what we've done on other plans, things change. So we have the Stock Ranch Guide for Development, which is a specific plan, an Auburn Boulevard plan. And as things have changed, we've been able to go in there and amend them to reflect what's going on in the market. We have built in flexibility into the plan as much as we possibly can. But if we miss the mark, we can certainly modify that and bring that to council's consideration at a later date.
Thank you. And great job. I really appreciate it. Great report. And with that, we can move on to the next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item, we have item number 13. Subject is American Rescue Plan funding update from our Administrative Services Department.
Good evening, Mayor Miller and members of City Council, Megan Weaver, Economic Development and Communications Manager. You have me one more time this evening. I am representing Administrative Services Department and also all staff who have been working very hard on the American Rescue Plan Act initiative that is complex and ongoing. So I know that there are many names attached to this department report. I am going to share my screen with you. Okay. So this evening, we will be reviewing background and guide. You know what? I'm sorry. I have two monitors at my desk, and it just gets the slideshow wrong. And it's going to bug me the entire time I'm talking to you. So if you don't mind, I'd just like to change it up here really quick. How'd we do?
That's perfect.
Looks great.
Does it? Okay, great. Thank you for your patience and for indulging me on that. So we'll be reviewing background and guideline summary of the American Rescue Plan Act. Also actions taken to date by the City of Citrus Heights this far, what staff has been referring to as phase 1. We will review community engagement metrics of phase 1 and moving forward. And we'll also be reviewing next steps, which staff is referring to as phase 2. Okay, it doesn't look like it's advancing. You guys didn't see advancing, correct?
No.
Let me just retool this and we'll go back to.
It worked during rehearsal.
Good. Okay, so we'll just be very utilitarian if you don't mind. So we just reviewed the agenda for this presentation and we'll dive into the background on ARPA as it relates to the City of Citrus Heights this far. The American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law on March 11th of this year, and in May, the interim guidelines were released. Our finance team here at the City of Citrus Heights moved extremely quickly to be able to execute our ARPA funding request. And as a result, was one of the first cities in the region to receive the first half of its allocation of a little over $15 million. And that was on May 19th. As a reminder, the interim guidelines are broken into 4 categories. 1, to respond to public health emergency or its negative economic impact, including assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits. 2, provide government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue due to COVID-19 relative to revenues collected in the most recent fiscal year. 3, provide premium pay to essential workers. And 4, investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure as it relates to COVID recovery. The guidelines also expressly identified ineligible expenditures, which included deposits into any pension fund to be used directly or indirectly to offset reduction in tax revenue, contributed to rainy day funds or financial reserves, or used for debt service. And we reviewed this before, but I want to make sure that we hit on it again as we are refreshing this subject matter. The interim guidelines also include express language that underscores a requirement for maximum community engagement as we look to find and prioritize COVID recovery needs. As Council may recall, staff recommended a 2-phase approach to respond to community needs while we are effectively managing the extended guideline finalization process and frankly, the seriousness of effectively stewarding these one-time funds. So as part of phase 1 on June 10th, staff provided an ARPA update to City Council and received extensive and robust feedback to first use funds to restore vacant police department positions. Immediately at the next City Council meeting, staff recommended and City Council approved unanimously a budget amendment to restore 22 PD positions. Now, I just want to call back to the note we just made around requirements for community engagement and provide some insight into how exactly staff ensured we were meeting those requirements. First, even before the June 10th meeting and before we received our funds, Citrus Heights issued a community survey to determine and prioritize community needs. This survey was issued the first part of May, and you can see by the graph that by far, first and foremost, our community's priority is to sustain and preserve public safety. This data was part of the recommendation that was brought to City Council and eventually laddered up into the budget amendment. Once the budget amendment took place, staff wanted to ensure community engagement around education of the action and ensuring community engagement as well. So what you can see here are all the ways that we shared that action with our community on all of the available communications channels that we have. It's a long list that in total generated over 80,000 impressions. So we know that we are reaching our community. We know that we are getting good data from our community. We know that we are educating our community. But really what it all comes down to, that phase 1, is that we were able to execute quickly. We still are the first city in the region to utilize ARPA funding, not just earmark. And really what that meant for our community is increased public safety services. So now that we have completed the phase 1 that we just reviewed, staff will be moving on to phase 2, which we consider the extended community COVID recovery. This will be, frankly, more complex, more iterative, because we will need to take time to be able to ensure that we are actively collecting measuring and prioritizing our community priorities. And as I mentioned, there's also a solemn seriousness that these are one-time funds that we need to ensure are stewarded well. So next action steps for phase 2. Next Monday, August 16th, we will be launching a community needs survey to collect COVID recovery data. We're expecting the final ARPA guidelines to be released in September, October of this year, and we will use the majority of that time compiling the community needs input. Also important to note, we have a goal to keep this survey open for about a month to ensure that we've fully disseminated and saturated reaching all community members that we can. And that will include residents, businesses, and nonprofits. And then after all of that work is complete and we're able to bundle it up, staff intends to bring it before City Council as the City Council workshop in November 2021, where we will present all of the community needs data and recommendations and receive the council back. And that brings me to the end of my presentation and my Make It Work PowerPoint presentation. And with that, I will open it up for any questions.
Any questions for Megan?
Yeah, Megan, this is Jeannie. I'd be curious to see the questions that are going to go out in the survey before you actually launch it. Is that a possibility?
Yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to route.
Yeah, I'd like to see a copy of that as well.
Yeah, I
That'd be awesome.
think it would give the council, if we could each be copied on it, give us an opportunity to give you feedback of maybe any additional questions that we might want to see asked.
It's a good idea.
Absolutely, council members. I would be happy to.
Thank you.
Megan, thank you for a comprehensive report and update.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, Clerk Haley, I think we're ready to go back to item 11. No, not 11. That would be the wrong one. 10.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Clerk Amy Van. So going back to item 10, staff tabulated the ballots received and not withdrawn, and 96.84% were in support of the assessment district renewal, and 3.16% were in opposition of the assessment district renewal. With ballots weighted according to the amount of the assessment to be imposed on the parcels for which ballots were submitted, therefore, there is not a majority protest, and if the City Council would like to take action, they are free to do so.
Okay. Well, we have a resolution. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'm happily moving that we support the resolution to renew the Sunrise Marketplace Property and Business Improvement District, approving the assessment formula and levying the assets.
I second.
Motion by Bruins, second by Schaefer. Mr. Daniels.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment of thank God, you know. I hope people understand what this is. This is the businesses in the 1 square mile area up around Sunrise Mall, for lack of a better term, that agree to tax themselves so that we can make that area, or I should say the Sunrise Marketplace, can make that area nicer, safer, and whatnot. And there's zero doubt in my mind that without the P-bid, we would not see the success of the Sunrise Marketplace area today. It's a vibrant area. There's not a lot of vacancies. There's a whole lot of good stuff going on. And then I also want to say there's zero doubt in my mind that if Kathy Lynn Carpenter had not been the executive director, is that the right title? There the entire time, that the P-bid would not be the success that it is today. And she does have staff, and we recognize that too. But I just want to thank Kathy Lynn publicly for her efforts over the decades of making this work. And I look very forward to it continuing and doing better things. And Citrus Heights would not be where it is today without you and those that have helped you. And thank you very much.
Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make a comment. Most people don't realize what what the Sunrise Marketplace does in this P-bid and how they orchestrate things. I didn't know before I came on council, and I'm so thankful for their effort, for the lighting decorations, all the decorations going up and down Sunrise Mall, in the marketplace, the really sense of the holiday feel comes from the P-bid and from Sunrise Marketplace. And I just want for people to understand that if you understand what happens when a P-bid collapses, just drive by the Florin Mall, see how that looks. So, well done, Kathy Lynn. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Since we're all commenting, I go way back with Kathy Lynn, so well-expected, good job. And I know the challenges for renewal of this P-bid were much greater than they have been in the past. And I also want to acknowledge our staff, Megan Huber and Nicole Baxter, who worked hard also helping the Sunrise Marketplace to make sure that the maximum outreach took place. And I think that was key, that and just your resiliency. So looking forward to the time ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Now it's time to get to work. All right, I don't have anything to add. Vice Mayor Middleton?
Nothing to add. Great job, everyone.
Congratulations. Yay. All right.
And then we just need to take a roll call vote.
Oh, that's, no.
Councilmember
please call the roll?
Bruins.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer.
A very enthusiastic aye.
Vice Mayor Middleton.
Aye.
And Mayor Miller.
Aye. Okay, next item, please.
Next item, we have city manager items.
Not this evening, council. Thank you.
Oh, there he is. Next item.
Next, we have items requested by council members and future agenda items.
Anything up here? Vice Mayor, anything?
Nothing tonight.
All right then. Well, before we adjourn, I wanted to congratulate Haley Reed on your first clerked council meeting. You did fantastic. You kept me in line and reminded me we had to vote on something.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we're adjourned.